Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ernie Dumas. I'm a councilman here in the city of Norwalk, and I have spoken to quite a few of you today and yesterday at Washington Village, and I talked about different things, and what we're trying to do is really get some clarity on the things that are going on at Washington Village and what's going on with the tenants, when you're gonna move out, about the demolition. If you see it on, some of you read it on the flyers that I gave to you. And then we have Adam Pavelski here, the Housing Authority Director. We have Cesar Ramirez and Bobby Burgess. And who else in there? And Darlene Young. Oh, Brenda Penn over there. I started to skip over, but it was all right. So we're going to get started, and if anybody has any questions or that they would like to ask to the director right now, please feel free to do so right at this point. If it's about when you're going to have a place to go to, or will you be going into the new place, or will you, when the demolition is going to start? And all of those questions that I have on this paper, so you can start asking questions if you want.
And if I might, I know many of you in the room, but as the new executive director, I first wanted to thank Mr. Dumas for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you. I think that we felt as though we were doing a pretty good job trying to get the word out between our HOU, which is the organization tasked with case managing the folks in Washington Village as they're moving out and making sure they understand the plan. It sounds like there may be some confusion out there. And so again, I want to thank Mr. Dumas for giving us this opportunity to reach you all, because it is very much appreciated. I'm going to pass out my cards, just in case anybody has follow-up questions later, feel free to reach out to me. So if you want to take one and pass them along.
Just before you start, I want to put a statement on the floor. We had several meetings with the developer and the housing authority before, and we were promised, and the tenants were promised, that there'd be 136 affordable units built, and everybody living there now will have first right of refusal to come back. All those people who were not in good standing will not have that money. They'll have to clear up their good outstanding debts, etc. So the rumor is now that a lot of the people will not have that right to come back, and I think it's kind of confusing to us, and confusing to the tenants. And we want to know why this information was put out in the beginning, and the community believed that the tenants had a right to come back, and now they don't have that right to come back. If orders have changed, then we will know why they were changed, and why weren't the community notified of it, and why wasn't the tenant notified of the changes in the future.
Very good. Let me answer the first question, and then we'll move on. So the question was asked, I'm just going to repeat it to make sure everyone can hear. The question was asked that there were promises made that the current tenants in Washington Village would have a right to return. And that now he's hearing if they were in good standing. It was always understood if they were in good standing, which means they're not being evicted for some sort of a reason. And now he's saying it sounds like certain families who are not being currently evicted are still having some trouble in being told that maybe they can't return, and he wanted to know why was that change made, when were people notified, or why weren't they notified, and so I'm going to try to answer each of those pieces, and I'm going to rely on Tom Ivers, who's behind you over there, who is our director over here at the Washington Village we call it the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative office. So the big issue that's coming up right now is not so much people who are being evicted, but people who are over income. So for a couple of years now, it's been in the policies, and it's been put out in writing that not only do you have to be someone in good standing, but you can't be over income. And so let me explain to you what that means and why that's the case here. The issue is that not only are we going to have 136 units for extremely low-income families, which are the families, predominantly families that are in Washington Village now, but we're also having an additional, I'm going to try to get the number right, Tom, it's about, is it about 60 or so low-income housing tax credit units?
Yes, about 67.
So 67 to be precise, low-income housing tax credit units. Those units are going to be occupied by some extremely low-income families. This is over and above the 136 that were originally promised. And we're doing that by giving people Section 8 vouchers and letting them move into those units, including some families from Washington Village. So we're actually giving the opportunity to more than 136 extremely low-income families. But in order to do that, these affordable units come with their own requirements from the state. And this is something called subsidy layering, which means that because we have more than one subsidy in the building, all the units have to apply to the same standard that are the affordable units or the extremely low-income units. And that standard is that their income of those families can't be over a certain standard. And that standard is that, Tom, I want to make sure I get it right, that's 80% of AMI?
60%.
Sorry, 60% of the area median.
Sit over here so people can see you.
What's that?
Sure.
Oh, you need Tom?
And what is AMI?
So AMI stands for the area median income. And what it basically means is that you can't earn more than a certain percentile that we would consider people who need affordable housing. Those numbers, for instance, for a family of 4 is in around in the 70s.
Yes.
So we're talking about around 74,000 or so. I don't have the form in front of me. We were sure what would be asked, but if you're earning, a family of 4 is earning well over $70,000, then the state says we don't think they need this type of subsidy in their housing. We want to save that housing for somebody who really needs to afford it. And so those individuals those families are being told that they can't move into the new Washington Village. But those individuals are not being left out, and I can talk about what we're doing for those families, and some of them are actually going into Washington Village, just not in one of the low-income side, one of the extremely low-income units, one of the public housing units. So that's something we've known for years. That's something that the families who are over income have been told for years, predominantly. There's 1 or 2 that changed their income recently, and then they didn't know until recently that they are going to be considered over income. Of all of Washington Village, of the 130, it's actually more than 136, it's 136 families that are there originally, but also additional families that have moved in since then. Only 5 families have been identified as over income, and it's only really a problem for 1 or 2. So we're really down to 1 or 2 families out of 140 some odd families that are going to be taking advantage of the new Washington Village. As an example, I'm not going to name names because that would be totally inappropriate, but one of those families, for instance, is earning $118,000 as a family of 3. And so the state is basically saying, if you're a family of 3 earning $118,000, should you be receiving a housing subsidy, or should we give that to somebody else who might need it? And the state's actually requiring us to not allow that family to move into the new Washington Village. Some of the families are making a little bit less than that. They're not all quite that high. But one of the families is going to be buying a home, and they're receiving additional assistance from us, from our relocation dollars, so that they can move in, so they can help them to buy a home, and they're very happy with that. And then there's 3 other families. One family is again over income, but they're going to be moving into the new Washington Village called Soundview Landing. Anyways, it was a couple and an adult child, and by splitting the family into 2 units, the original head of household and his wife into a public housing unit, and then the adult child into a low-income housing tax credit unit with one of our vouchers, they're able to move in. to Washington Village. And we're really only down to 1 or 2 families that it's going to be could possibly be a problem for, and those we are working on currently. And again, I don't want to get into too much detail because it's sort of a private matter. No one is being left in the dark. Everyone is being offered some sort of housing. Everyone is being offered some sort of housing, including staying in public housing, but going into a unit that's not Washington Village. So no family is being told to get out of public housing. All of them are able to stay in public housing if they want. It's just these 1 or 2 families that we may have trouble with getting them into Soundsview Landing due to these new regulations. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that answers my question, but, I think that's a well-answered question. When I think, when something happens in the community, as the news get out, I think we should try to nip it in the bud, because right now it's not as bad as I thought it was. And you only have 2 or 3 people affected, and you have the responsibility to still help them relocate it. I think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
We really are doing everything we can. And I want to make another important point, which is our board, just today represented by both Mr. Ramirez as well as Ms. Penn-Williams, they are very community-minded as board, and they are very concerned with these issues. And nobody has taken us to task as a staff more than they have, demanding that we make sure that all of our families are taken care of because of the promises we originally made that everyone could return. Not only are we here to listen to the community, but our board is very much on top of this issue, very aware of it, and instructing the staff that we need to do everything in our power to make sure we honor our promises. Mr. Mosby.
I'm sorry. Oh,
I'm glad to be here tonight. My name is John Mose, and everybody know me. I've been in Norwalk over 60 years. And I've been an advocate for the community for everything. And what I'm concerned, me and Mr. Duma did come by and he asked us to come out, because we're part of the community.
that's right.
I'm getting a little sick and tired of all this shit crap coming here. We losing most all our people in this shit today. And what makes me so angry, and you can get mad with me on you getting fellow money. What happened is the Bakey plan, I was a part of this plan. And I'm not coming out to sound you out, sir. But I'm taking it for God, and I'm looking up here, you see all this country, and I'm not gonna start. You know that people are fed up with these politicians selling us out. We're fed up with it. Now what happened here, and you see in Detroit, y'all seen it. I ain't got to tell you. What happened here I was there when he did this. I was in North Neon down there. We the whole community involved. And I'm giving you the truth. They agree that those people would have the first choice. One don't think about no money and you overpaying all. They told them people they would be there when they do it. And here's what makes me so mad. You always tell me them people, we done lost a lot of minority in this town. I used to go around and get 400 people out of there. We can't get 30 or 40 of that now. Now I'm gonna tell you, getting the state and federal money, and you don't beat me. Them 9 guys in Boston, they supposed to follow the law for non-discrimination. Now, when you go to these others, and I don't want to see this happen again, you get mad with me all you want. And I intend to I go to my grave, I have to beat the law tonight, I'm ready to go. You all gonna have to say, when you bring this money in here, you change so much. At time you say it for the people, then you add on another 700. You keep doing this shit. And this game plan is over. We can get Boston in here tomorrow, they'll cut it out if you ain't treating minorities right. We done losing too many of our people. You go in the room to coat them, I just cry. The people down there and all over the place. If you're gonna tear down these places, you don't build for other people. You build for these poor people. They're suffering.
Mr. Mosby, if I can address that.
And let me finish there. Because this is what y'all don't want to hear when we talk the truth. You want to hurry up and get out the way. I'm not going to let it out the way.
He wants to answer your question.
I'm going to let him do it. Let me finish up, brother. We put you there to listen to us.
No.
We didn't put you here to just tell us to shut up. I'm getting it straight.
Mr. Mosby.
Well, you don't interrupt me, Mr. Dumas. I didn't interrupt Bobby. I didn't interrupt y'all. Let me finish talking, then I'm going to sit down. We're sick and tired of y'all playing games with us. I'm dead serious about it. I know you got people doing everything to get me out the way. People done told me, but I see God is in my, you watching me like a dog, you're doing everything. But that's all right, I got God with me. And the people in Detroit and all of them are fed up with y'all not the son of the side. So what I'm saying to you, I want you to come to the community, and when you do something, let us know. We are not on no boats. We don't sit on no boat. You don't want nobody on the boat going to ask questions for the people. You just want somebody on that boat to sit there and just show their teeth. And we getting sick and tired. So anyway, I'm glad to get what I want off my chest tonight. And I'm going to tell you right now, if they bother me, they got a problem. That's all I want to say.
I want to say something real briefly, is that the purpose of this meeting and the reason for this meeting is because I do care about the community, and this is why all these people are here today, because of my concerns of this community. And I'm going to continue to keep letting people know what's going on in our community, and you're gonna see me a lot around your door. And that's what it's all about. I'm a councilman for this district, and I will be doing my job. Thank you.
So, Mr. Mosley raised a whole bunch of issues. So one of the issues is he's saying for building housing, it should really just be for the community. And what I want to point out is two things. One is, what the Housing Authority has done is not only provide 136 extremely low-income housing units, right? Not only is that, for the current Washington Village residents, but by this project has also brought in additional vouchers that many of our Washington Village residents have chosen to take. They don't have to, but they've chosen to take. And that creates even additional housing, because if they take a voucher, that's another extremely low-income subsidy for a family. They can use anywhere they want in Norwalk. They can use it in South Norwalk, or they can use it outside of South Norwalk if they want. And that creates additional housing opportunities. Additionally, with the low-income housing tax credit units, we are creating additional housing that is affordable to our communities. And affordable housing is a very tricky word, right? It's not like public housing, and many people can't afford it. But with the addition, with our voucher holders, those units are within reach. And so we are creating more housing, not less, but more housing than we had before for our extremely low-income community. We can argue all day long, and there's good arguments on both sides, whether or not mixed income housing like this is beneficial or not. 25% of the new units, not taking any away from public housing, but an additional 25% of the units are going to be market rate units, and they will be given predominantly only those who can afford them. And at a two-bedroom going currently for between $2,600 and $2,800, many people cannot afford them. But studies have shown that this type of housing is healthy for a community, right? We're deconcentrating poverty, but not losing any public housing units, in fact, creating additional resources for the community. So many people have disagreements about that, and I very much respect those, but this project would not have been possible. We could not have built these beautiful units that most of our tenants are saying are incredibly wonderful, and some of them have even been crying when they see them, right? We couldn't have built those units without also having some of these market rate units in order to make the whole project affordable. So this is where we are. I'm not going to apologize for it. As most of you know, I wasn't around in this position when those decisions were being made, but I think they were good decisions, and I think they're good for our community.
Mr. Mosby?
No, it was me.
Hi. No, I'm sorry. Let me briefly respond to Mr. Sir, by the way, my name is Cesar Ramirez, and I'm the chair of the board. You know that I highly respect you, sir. I was actually one of the original members to bring this idea to the committee. And we promised to our community, yes, that everyone will be going, the standards going back. We didn't say that the first building everybody was going to go into, okay? It was going to spread out. There are different fashions and different reasons, and very healthy reasons, which I'm not going to get into, okay? Why this process had to be the leader there. I take a little offensive when you make the remarks about politicians playing, okay, saying one thing and doing others. I'm not a politician, neither I want to say one. I am also responsible or the board are responsible for this community, especially for our residents of Washington Village. I take it very personal. I take it nights without sleeping just to make sure that this project goes along very fine. And they can testify how emotional I get, okay? Well, I really have gotten in the last few minutes, the last few days, to make sure that our residents will be taken care of. And they will be taken care of properly. So therefore, okay, we have to know the logistics and the real thing what's going on inside, sir. There's a lot of rules out there. We cannot go by rules. We have to go by the legitimate issues within the umbrella and the business that are actually related with every agency that is involved with this and every corporation. We have to follow the rules, okay? But I promise you, and we all promise to our community, based on how 136 units being taken away, 136 units have to be back again. And Adam said we have gone beyond, okay? 3 units has really shown a little more flexibility to work along with it. Even in cases perhaps we might not have to, based on what it was prescribing. But it will be, and I'll tell you right now, okay, our board, and as well Adam's going to have to way beyond that to make sure that this is going in the right direction. Folks, believe me, you will be taken care of. Not everybody's moving into the first building, please. Everybody's going to be moving to the new buildings. And these are places, okay, if you still remain in good standards, as you have been marvelous. And I'm glad for everybody that's here to respond and to listen and ask you questions. Thank you, sir.
All right, she could get searched.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond.
It's her turn.
Again, I don't.
The lady right there.
I just want to say, I grew up in Washington Village, and I'm over 40. My mom has been there before I was born. My understanding is, and there's a lot of other families in here, I knew these ladies growing up. How do you move a neighbor, you say standards, and you spread them out for reasons of separation or income. But a lot of these women in here have had their apartments in good standing for 30, 40 plus years. Okay, so can you imagine watching your neighbor who just moved in get their new apartment or get their voucher, and you're still sitting in the dark? Just imagine.
I think that's a very good point. Look, housing is very personal. Housing is very stressful. And when things aren't certain, that is a very difficult thing for anyone to deal with. And I want to first make sure you understand that I know that, I understand that. The issue is, the board took on a couple of years ago is, well, we wanted to build buildings A and B, and then move a whole bunch of folks into those, demolish those buildings, and then build up building C, demolish the next set, so that people as much as possible could move right on in to the new buildings.
I'm talking about now.
No, I know, I'm gonna get to that.
What's going on right now?
I absolutely will get to
The
that.
neighbors are moving now.
I will absolutely get to that, yeah.
Huh?
So, that was the original plan. Then we got sued by the Friends of Ryan Park, and that delayed our ability to start the project by years, by a couple of years. A lot of the money received from the federal government, this Choice Neighborhoods Initiative money, it's $30 million, has a sunset. If we don't use it by a certain period of time, we lose that money. So after the delay, we had to speed things up. And one of the things that meant we had to do, just because we got to get it done, is we could not wait to demolish the first set of buildings and put building C up without starting to demolish everything and building everything at once. So one of the bigger issues we're dealing with, and I will get to your question, but this is related. One of the bigger issues we're dealing with is a lot of more people are going to be displaced temporarily. Now, as most of you know, anyone who is displaced is going to get a voucher, right? A housing subsidy, and you're going to get assistance to help you move, and assistance and ongoing financial assistance in the form of the subsidy, and case management to help you find a place, to move into the place, and then to move back to Washington Village if you want to. All right. There are 136 families in Washington Village now, and there's additional families that have a right to move back because they were there originally and then moved out. So what we're talking about, what you're talking about now is we've opened up Building A, and we moved 7 families in, 8 technically, but only 7 from Washington Village. And we're opening up Building B right now, and people are starting to move out. and there's 30 units there. 32? Sorry, thank you. 32 units in Building B for Washington Village. Combined, that's 40 units out of 136 families that need to move out. So what is the most fair way of deciding who gets to move and who doesn't get to move? And what we decided a couple of years ago, before my time, but I think it was the right decision, and I will defend it, is we created a lottery system. All right, we did a lottery system. I was actually brought in my former capacity as the fair rent director to monitor it, to see that it was done appropriately, and it was. They used a random number generator. They connected it to everyone's name. Everyone got a lottery number, and the highest numbers, for the most part, seniors going into the one bedrooms first. But other than that, the highest numbers moved in, or I guess the lowest numbers moved in first, and everyone else is going to have to get a voucher. And we can argue all day long about different ways we could have done it. People who have been there for a really long time, people who are more infirm. But a lot of those things are subjective and people don't always agree, whereas everyone knows that a lottery system, although there's plenty more losers than winners because that's the number of units we had, it is one way of saying that there's going to be no favoritism, no special treatment. Instead, it's going to be. That's what
So can I suggest something? We're gonna need a moderator.
Hold on
Okay,
for a second.
because I think all of you've got a lot of questions, and that's why you're here. And so we can only hear one person at a time. And so if you don't mind, I'll do it.
Go ahead.
I'm okay to do it. So are you
Let
finished
me
with
finish
your
with-
question, and then
Yeah,
we can
no,
go on to someone else? So
I
let's,
understand.
and then we'll do that, okay?
But my thing is, you guys are willing to gamble on a young mother who just got herself together versus someone who has been stable for 20 plus years. I mean, I understand that you did the lottery already, because I've never been lucky enough to get Section 8 either. So I understand that, but these are people who you promised apartments to, that you're demolishing their apartments. So who would not have thought of to move these women in here who are more stable versus gambling?
And what I'd like to say is, yes, it's a lottery, but we weren't gambling, right? We weren't saying we think this person or that person would do better or should deserve it. We decided we're not qualified to decide who deserves a unit more than someone else. And that the only fair way to do it, because we didn't want to play that type of hand, was to just say, it's a lottery, whatever comes out, it comes out. And that way, nobody should be claiming favoritism. Now, I do get there's room for disagreement there. I do. And there's nothing more stressful. Our chairman, Mr. Ramirez, has brought to our attention more than one senior who he has talked to, who is finding this very stressful, that the idea they have to move twice. And we completely understand that. But of the 40 units, only how many were one-bedroom units? 12? Only 12 of them were one-bedroom units. So the 136 families who are currently in Washington Village, plus the additional families that moved out early, we had 12 one-bedrooms to put people in, and we really just did the best we could by doing a senior lottery and then a family lottery.
So the Section 8 lottery is separate.
There is no law.
Section 8 vouchers,
Everyone's
Everybody
gonna
gets Section 8.
so everybody,
Everybody
it just has to come out yet.
They have come out. Everybody's getting Section 8.
So to clarify the Section 8 issue, we have enough vouchers for everybody. We are moving, we are emphasizing, we gave letters to everyone saying it's time to move, but we're having HOU, our case managers who are helping folks move, we're having them work on the buildings that are closest to the demolition first, right? We've already moved everyone out of the buildings, I believe, that are going to be demolished. Correct me? We've already moved everyone out of the buildings that are going to be demolished.
There's 2 more families in the village, 6
Okay.
buildings,
And
and
then-
those will be empty.
And then there's only a couple families left even in the buildings next to the buildings that are going to be demolished. And we believe certainly by the end of the calendar year, but certainly but hopefully a lot sooner than that, everyone will have a voucher and be moved out on their own terms. I know not necessarily into the Soundview Landing like we had hoped, like we would love as much as possible, but everyone will be taken care of, absolutely.
So why didn't they, when they first had this meeting and telling us they getting the grants and we waiting on the grants, and I asked Kansas, you know, if you're gonna knock down, why not give me our Section 8 now, so I'll be out? There should have been, everybody been out before they start building anyway.
So, this is an answer I hate to give as an executive director, so you can you can hit me back for it, and that's fine. The way to finance a project like this is in waves, right? So we only get the funding for phase 1 first. We have to build phase 1 first, then we ask for the funding for phase 2, we build phase 2, then we ask for the funding for phase 3, and then we build phase 3 for the most part. We're doing 2 and 3 a little closer together than that, but that's basically the only way that we determine is the best way to finance the project. And HUD's not going to give us a temporary protection voucher, these Section 8 vouchers, until we can show a need, because we're just about to demolish the buildings.
Because of the accelerated schedule, it actually is working out much, much better for the residents because we are now giving vouchers to everyone now. For the last 5 buildings, the original plan was not to start issuing those vouchers for another year and a half until Building C was finished. Now, because we aren't going to have Building C finished before Buildings D and E get started, we made the decision, why should we make these people wait? Why don't we issue the vouchers now and we'll move everybody a year and a half, 2 years ahead of our original schedule. So it actually is happening a lot more quickly than we originally planned.
Let me ask this question first.
Should have
This might
happened
be
from
back
the
here.
beginning when y'all started the meeting.
This is working out better than you expected?
No.
So let's wait a minute, let's wait.
Everyone will get
Okay,
So I have a question for Ms. Lady back here who's afraid to speak. She has been told because she has a 0 income, that she's not gonna be able to move into the new Soundview landing. What's that all about?
That's not true.
What was the question, Brenda?
She wouldn't say.
Brenda, can you repeat it?
Oh,
Let me repeat it. I got a
repeat
big
it.
loud booming voice.
repeat it out into.
One of the members in the audience is concerned that they're not going to be allowed to move into Washington Village and wanted us to address that.
Because she has a 0 income.
It doesn't matter.
No income.
It doesn't matter. And they've got an option to move into Soundview Landing as units come available in the next phases. They've got an option to use Section 8 to move off-site anywhere they would like to go. Or they have the option to take a alternative public housing unit, and both off-site Section 8 and alternative public housing units can be considered temporary, so that when Building C is available, D and E, you'll get an invitation to come back to Soundview Landing as those apartments come available. And having 0 income will not disqualify you.
Go ahead, you go ahead.
Now, there was a neighbor, I don't wanna mention no name. She moved there after I did, okay? And she has Section 8, and they gave her Section 8 up in Soundview Landing.
We've done that for 5 families, I think, at least.
Yes.
And that's a way of expanding the number of units we
But
have for
also,
low income.
excuse me, but she also owed money to housing, to Norwalk Housing, $500 or whatever. I'm not mentioning no names, because that's none of my business. But that's wrong, like, this other lady right here, her, she's been in here for many years. 40 years, why didn't give her the apartment, you know, like other people that, other tenants that been living here for many years. Me, that I only been here about 4 years and a half, and this other lady moved about 2 years and a half ago, and they give her, that doesn't make sense.
So,
You understand what I mean?
let me address that. So, we've already talked about it. I think we can all argue about what ought to justify someone being able to move in first to Soundview Landing. We're not talking about people not being able to go to Soundview Landing right now. We're talking about who gets to move first, which really means who gets to move right in without having to take a voucher first, move off site for a year or 2, and then move back, right? So we could all argue about who should go. Should it be the people who are most frail? Should it be the people who are most senior? Should it be the people who've lived there the longest? Should it be the people who haven't lived there the longest? I mean, like, we could all argue about why we decided that the fair thing to do, so we're not playing favorites, is to do a lottery. And again, I'll take the pushback. I understand people aren't happy with that. Most of the people who, of course, can't move right in. But that was a decision made a couple of years ago. Again, I know because I was at the lottery a couple of years ago. And everybody is going to be able to get in. And in fact, what I heard over here was someone said that's discrimination. And I happen to be a civil rights lawyer, as many of you know. And I'll tell you what would be discrimination is if we chose people who were, we made decisions about who was black versus who was Hispanic versus who was white. That would have been discrimination. If we had chosen all young people over old people, that would have been discrimination. A lottery, we're not choosing anything. We're saying wherever the numbers fall, we don't care about any of those protected classes. Wherever the numbers fall, that's what we're going to do.
So Adam, so the young lady in the black and white, but I have to acknowledge that we have a few people in the room who needed translation services.
I need to change.
She needs a translation, and this young lady
All right,
is here. So I don't know what we're gonna do about that, but they will stay here.
So let me respond to that. Mr. Dumas organized the meeting. If he was aware, next time, if he's aware of someone who needs translation services.
But I think there's somebody on staff who's actually Haitian Creole.
We just need some advance notice so we can set it up, and then we will provide translation services as best we
Okay,
can.
and so
We were not aware they would be here, and I apologize.
the young lady in the black and white striped shirt has a question.
So I actually have a question. I have a question in a statement, so I'll start with my statement. Is I just wanted to make it clear, and if you guys can offer some resolution or some type of empathy that you've given my mother a Section 8 voucher 2 months before her having to move is not helpful, and it's not like a gold mine, because speaking for her, her plan was to move directly into Soundview. She was not interested into a voucher. So now a voucher and apartment hunting is a whole different ballgame. And there is no case management. I am her case manager. And I work 40 hours a week, and now I have to go on the job to find my mother an apartment, when this was not the plan. Right. So then also, when it comes into moving, as I'm sure you guys know, it comes into credit and it comes into references. When someone who may not have a high credit score or have credit at all, has lived somewhere for 30 years, have not planned to start rebuilding credit. They have lived in a place, and sometimes maybe they don't want to move on the other side of the town, maybe they want to stay in the community, so Soundview was always the #1 option. So giving a voucher, 3 months saying before the end of the year that you have to move out, what if you can't find an apartment in 3 months? It's not what a lot of our veterans all over Norwalk anyway. And then, especially for her age, she can't do stairs, so that's cutting a lot of them out already. So it's a lot of different things. You just can't go out and grab an apartment. So that's not helpful. So now my question is, I heard my own ears that no one can take vouchers into Soundview Landing. So can we clear that up?
People are taking vouchers into Soundview Landing if they're into the low-income housing tax credit units. Those additional affordable units above and beyond the public housing units. If there are units available, they can do it. We've already moved 5 people in with vouchers.
Okay, well, I didn't know about 5 people moving in already, but when I heard from the
there's only so many.
There's only so many. You can't take your voucher over there. That wasn't even an option.
What you can't do is there's only so many low-income housing tax credit units, right? So they're not infinite, right? So if there's a unit that fits your needs, you can take it in there. What you can't do is you can't take a voucher and move into a public housing unit in Soundview Landing. So that's something that some people wanted. They said, hey, can I get this voucher where I can move? If I don't like it there, can I move into Soundview Landing and have a voucher in my public housing unit as well? And that's what you can't do because the federal government doesn't allow it, because they don't want to waste 2 subsidies on 1 unit. You don't actually use the Section 8 voucher because you're only paying the public housing rent. So you can't move into a public housing unit, but you can move into a low-income housing tax credit unit, as 5 families have already done. In addition, in Phase 2, not in the current buildings, but in Phase 2, there's going to be 21 project-based voucher units. Those are units that are Section 8 units and where you can move out after a year if you're unhappy there and you want to move out and take those vouchers with you. Again, it's going to be by luck of the draw, really, who gets those 21 units.
So who could we contact right now to see what's available for the unit?
We've got 2 full-time relocation specialists, and they can work with your mother. Your mother should have a case manager assigned to her. So there's 3 full-time people that are available as resource to her. We have retained a real estate agent who is taking people around and showing them apartments. You know, our relocation specialists are searching for apartments every day. I see them printing out listings in the copy machine every day. So we will assist them, and we will give them as much time as they need. We're not going to kick anybody out. We're going to give them as much time as they need to find an apartment that's suitable to them and acceptable to them and comparable and decent and accessible to them.
And if you're having a trouble with HOU, you said there's no case management.
Yeah.
If you believe that there's a problem, you need to make sure Tom is aware, because he manages them, and he's their supervisor to some extent.
Yes.
So, make sure he knows, because we need to follow up and find out what's going on if they're not providing the services we're paying them to do.
So they talked about credit. What are you gonna do about the people that are denied because of their credit? What's gonna happen?
What you gonna do then?
So there are some landlords who care more about credit than others, and we will work until we find somebody that's gonna work.
And you all know,
And we've been working
you can't do
with,
that under the law.
we've been working with families
You rob me, I'm
doing
gonna
workshops
put
for
that
2 years to inform people how to correct their credit, advise them on financial management. So many people who had problems a year ago have been able to correct those. So there's many fewer households that have credit challenges than there were a year and a half ago. And in the bottom line, if it becomes a real obstacle, there's always the opportunity to transfer to another public housing unit. They're a tenant of ours, and we can make those units available as well.
But,
Bring it on.
I'm sorry, I'm Helen Thorne, I'm the one that contacted him and Mr. Burgess,
And thank you for being here.
because I'm concerned about the people. I listen to the complaints every day. They told her that she couldn't move in because she didn't have no income.
That's right.
Now, when you laid out the grounds, you said everybody that wanted to come back, that was eligible to come back.
That's right.
If you eligible to have housing, why aren't you eligible to go back?
That's a lie.
So
She had zero
I
when
I
she
have-
went in.
I have not
Trying to
heard
people.
anywhere, anytime, that someone can't get in because they have no income. And
Well,
if
you're
that's-
not getting
if
the
that's-
right communication.
If that's what they're being told, that's probably a
Somebody's not
mistake.
telling you right.
And we are gonna follow up. We're
You
absolutely
better
gonna follow.
follow it up,
That-
because what
that
you
would greatly
saying
concern me,
today is
'cause that's
not
not the
right.
deal.
Well, they told me that too. I had lost my job.
See,
And it's a
it's
only way
One
there,
please.
I have to get a job.
No, that's not right.
If
Well,
I
you
don't
need to
have a
check it
job,
out.
I can't get Section 8. That's what I've been
Well,
told.
it's not that you can't.
That's
It's
why
just-
we're
it's
frustrated.
not that you can't get a Section 8, it just means that it
That's
may
right.
be very difficult for you to be competitive as a tenant when you go talk to a landlord. Because a landlord doesn't only have concerns about you paying your rent, which Section 8 will help you with, and pay all of it if need be, but you also have to be able to pay your utilities, you also have to take care of your other bills. They are looking for people who are going to be financially strong enough to be good tenants. And if you have zero income, it makes it a lot more difficult. It's not impossible, it just makes it a lot more difficult. And in cases like that, it often is a easier path to look at alternative public housing units where those kinds of issues don't make it more difficult. You know, if
Just until Soundview Landing opens a building for you, and then you can move into there.
Wait, he's saying something different.
Yeah, that's right.
He's
No.
saying
Now they have
something
No,
different.
it's private sector. He's talking about the tenant protection vouchers. We have people on Section 8 with no income. We've got plenty of them. I know that. And just like in public housing, we'd actually send you a check, right, your utility allowance. If you have zero income, you get a check from the housing authority to help you pay your utilities. But Section 8 does require a landlord to accept you, and there are reasons they can deny you. They can't deny you because you have a Section 8 voucher, that violates fair housing, but they can deny you if they think your credit is horrible and they don't want to take a risk with you. So we've tried to find landlords that are willing to work with us and work with you. Can I imagine a worst case scenario where someone has to go into public housing? I hope that doesn't happen, into alternative public housing, but it's not impossible. But no income is certainly not a problem for moving into Soundview Landing, and we have plenty of tenants on Section 8 who are receiving no income now anyway.
But Adam, that's not what she said. She said they told her she could not move into the Soundview Landing because she has zero income.
I heard that, I took a note of it. It's not true, and if HRU is telling people that, that's a mistake, but we'll
And
definitely
this
follow
lady
up.
said the same thing.
I'm here, I'm here.
follow-up.
We'll follow up.
Okay, was your question?
Yeah, no, I was just trying to specify what she was saying. This lady said it, she said it, and this other lady saying
So-
it. With zero income, they were told, they were told they could not move into Soundview Landing.
So that's, I don't believe that's true, I'm sure it's not true. What we're gonna do though is if you put your name on that sign-in sheet today, I will send out an email clarifying that issue to everyone on that list. But I've never heard that, I don't believe it to be true, and if people are being told that, that's something we're gonna stop right away, and we'll apologize for that.
Okay, so we have a question right here from Ms. Keels, and then the lady in the blue, and then this lady again, Ms. Keels.
I was told yesterday from one of the ladies in here that we have 3 months at October. We have to be out of Washington Village. There's no way we can rush to get out of there, because it's not that easy to find a place. It's not fair to the rest of us that's left in here.
We gonna get the building.
So of the 136 families,
It's not even 136 in there now, it's just
no,
sitting in
that's
here.
what I'm saying, of the 136 families, my understanding is there's only 27 still in Washington Village, okay? So the 136, only 27 left. Everyone else, other than the 40 that are moving straight in, everyone else has been able to move out with their voucher, and we're gonna work extra hard until every single person is out.
We shouldn't
with
have to
their
rush
health.
either.
You shouldn't have to rush, but what we don't want for your own health and safety, is we don't want people to stay there too long during the
I
demolition.
understand that.
So that's why we got
What they
these folks
should
that
have
are.
did from day one, when they was having these meetings every week or month, they should have been telling us then and getting everybody out before all this accumulates. It's not fair to the ones that's left in there.
I understand what you're saying. I do.
It's not fair, it's not fair. They pick and choose who they put over
What
there,
we do. But
and look what's left in the building.
They didn't pick and choose. There's
Yeah,
a lot
but
of
it's
discussion
that was
discussed
me.
all this. That's what it's true.
That's because, like she said, it was some less than half of us in here, and they're over there now living the life. We got to find a place to stay now, that's not right.
It wasn't phased, they're supposed to be phased out, from what we agreed to on the council.
that's my
So,
representative.
we need to make sure that those folks are gonna be well taken care of, they're not gonna be forced out, anytime soon.
3 months.
We wanna make sure that the phase out is gonna go, continue the way that we agreed to.
That's my
From,
representative.
make sure that, phase 1 and phase 2 is complete before we start moving these other folks out.
Well,
All right,
we in phase 2.
So what we discussed at the beginning, Councilman, is that, the original plan, right, was to build buildings A and B, move some folks from what would become building C, right, into those buildings, and demolish C, the area for C, which is 5 buildings, build building C, move the rest of the folks, as many as we can, from the rest of Washington Village in, like you said, in a phased approach. But what happened was we got sued by Ryan Park, the Friends of Ryan Park, delayed us by 2 years, and we have $30 million from the federal government that if we don't spend it, most of it by the end of 2020, and a little bit left over by the end of, was it March of 2021? If we don't spend that money down, we lose it. So at this point, we're under a gun, we're under a time clock, and because of that, we had to speed the process up. And we are,
You can't rush
we have to
people.
demolish
You
it.
can speed the process up, but you gotta find living arrangements for those folks that we're trying to get out, soon. You can't just say, we need you out by a date and that's it. That's not right.
Councilman Sims, as you know, we were discussing this before, we have, 2 full-time staff whose job is to case manage people, help them find a place to go out.
So they're not doing their job, then you need to find
But let me finish, we got a real estate agent who's working for us, trying to find places. Everyone's been given at least one place to look at when they got their first letter. We are working hard to do that, and I agree, we can't just push people out, we're not gonna push people out. We can't force somebody to take a place they don't want. But we also want to get people out as quickly as possible, because a lot of vacant buildings is not safe, and a lot of demolition is not safe.
So I can say there's too many conversations going, just
Let me,
pass it for a
hold
minute.
on for a minute.
Let's stop.
Hold on for a minute.
Dumas, too many conversations.
Mr. Adam is trying to explain all of this to you, and you can't hear what he's trying to say with everybody's talking. So let us listen to what he's saying and get the right information. That's what we're here for clarity. So let's get the right information, please.
So we had 2 other residents that I think it's most important that we hear from, and so, please, have your question.
I would like to ask you a question. In the meeting, when my mother come here to the meeting, they were saying that if you don't have no apartment, you don't need an apartment, because they all had an apartment in the new building. And now they come with that thing that Section voucher, Section 8 voucher. And my mom, she don't even sleep at night. She even get dizziness, have a headache and chest pain. And I said, Mom, don't worry, but we've been looking for an apartment, it's not right, we're not been looking, because we've been to every building. We went to West Avenue, we've been looking for an apartment.
Absolutely, it is exceptionally stressful.
Yeah.
We understand that,
Yeah.
and we have this staff, they're hoping to help people find places. If
And
they're
it's
not,
not easy.
if they're not doing their job,
Yeah.
Tom needs to know,
Yeah.
and he will
It's
follow
just
up and make
that
sure
over
they're doing
here,
their
they're not
job.
doing nothing, because Maria saw my mother yesterday, and she gave me some apartment to a month, but I called to all of them, and they were busy, and one of them, he answered me, and then he hung up the phone, and I go back, and the answer machine came back.
Well, we've got a real estate agent that can go out.
I know, we
And we've got
came
people
today,
that can go out
yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
So we'll work that through with you, help find places. We'll give you transportation to whatever.
So we have Ms. Jackson.
We'll assist you through the whole process.
The next question, John, and then Mr. Burgess. I'm
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, now when it comes down to Yolanda told us 2 weeks ago, we're gonna have Wednesday night, we're gonna have a meeting at 5:30. We're gonna meet up with a real estate person and landlords. I called that Wednesday afternoon, I said, Yolanda, is the meeting so long? She didn't even come to the phone. The girl at the desk had answered the phone. And I guess my name come up, because they call IDs now. And she said, Ms. Kima, she said, no, the meeting's canceled. I ain't heard from her since then, okay? Ain't nobody called me since then.
We're not after you.
Thank you. I'm not.
You following the line.
They're telling
But
you one
we're
story,
telling
doing
you,
another.
people
thing.
are not doing their job. The in-between ones are not doing their job. That's what we're talking about. We know all of this. We heard all this in the meeting, but it's not happening. That's why we're frustrated.
And I'm very glad that Mr. Dumas called this meeting, because this is allowing us to hear this stuff that I had not heard before. And Tom is gonna follow up. He supervises Yolanda, so he's gonna follow up. We'll make sure that this gets straight.
And one more thing, they tearing down those buildings and everybody got a call.
I'm glad these people come out and tell the truth.
Something's going on.
I'm good. With what we're talking about, you're talking about getting everybody settled. Will they all be settled into an apartment out of Washington Village before the demolition?
No.
No, they will not. So
That's not possible.
we have, let me just elaborate a little bit. We're prioritizing, some of you said, hey, that we're not getting enough help yet, right? We are prioritizing the people in the buildings, obviously, that are scheduled to be demolished first. And then secondary prioritization is on those families in the buildings next to the demolition zone. I think we have 2 families left in the buildings that are slated for demolition. And I think we only have 2 families left in the buildings that are next to the buildings that are going to be demolished. The other 23 families are slightly further away from the demolition zone for phase 2. So we know, we've been hearing 2 different things, right? Some people said from the city, it's dangerous to have vacant buildings. All kinds of things happen in vacant buildings you want to avoid. Right. And that's a danger. And we've also heard from the city the exact opposite, which is that we want you to make sure that everyone gets out, or as many people get out as possible, before you start demolition, because that's also a health issue. So we're really trying to do the best we can with something right in the middle. We're getting, obviously, with people out who are in the buildings that are being demolished, but next to those 3 buildings that are directly adjacent to, right next to those buildings slated for demolition, and those buildings, again, only have 2 families left. We're hoping to get them out as soon as possible, and certainly before the demolition if we can. We think they will all be out, those 4 families will be out before the demolition. But I don't believe the other 23 families that we'll be able to get everybody out by sometime in mid-October, when demolition is likely to begin. But we're moving as fast as we can. We're trying to, again, appease everybody to not have vacant buildings, but also to get people out as quickly as possible.
Well, with that,
Let me apologize if some people have had a little bit of frustration with support from us, but please just be a little bit.
Especially from Yolanda.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say.
Especially from Yolanda, you know?
Please
She's having a problem with everybody.
Please be a little bit patient with us for a little bit longer. And the reason I'm asking for that is right now, like this week and next week, we have 37 families who are moving out, all at the same time. They're all moving off site at the same time. And some are moving into Soundview Landing, some are moving into other public housing units, some are moving into private housing section. But we've got about 37 families that are all moving at the same time right now. And that's gonna be finished in about a week. in about a week. And as soon as we get those, as Adam was saying, those high priority people relocated in the buildings that are slated for demolition, these are mostly in those front buildings, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Once we get those people moved, the first priority moves, then we'll be able to focus our attention on buildings 1, 3, 9, 10, 11, and we'll be in a much better position to give you the individual attention that you deserve. But just, if you'd be patient with us just for a week or so, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Let me clarify, sir. Just to make sure, and I know you guys do the best you can, but what happened to this lady here is very unacceptable. Okay, so please, somehow, you have to correct our staff, that any calls like that, especially from here, must be taken. I know they believe me. I'm very proud of the staff itself, because they have gone way beyond what they do, okay? But something like this, it's a matter of customer services, it's a matter of need. Everybody has a need right now. Thank you.
I just want to
Anybody
finish.
feels like they're not getting the attention that they need, please contact me.
So you've got, Mr. Dumas, you've got residents who have a couple of questions.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Jasmine has another question.
My question was,
What are we doing?
Councilman Sims, you have another question?
What-
When you get time.
Wait, Travis, we need one at a time, and we're trying to do this, I can't.
Hold on.
She's talking. Ms. Jasmine is speaking.
My question was related to what Ms. Mary said about the realtors and the landlord being invited to a meeting. And I had spoke to a private landlord, a private realtor, and I said that. I was like, you know, when you're trying to help my mom find apartments, if you could speak to the landlord to tell them about what's going on, that a lot of people are going to be looking for apartments. And he like laughed at me and he said that the staff has been saying that for 2 years. And so I want you to know that, can you actually do that and get some landlords and realtors in here, and that it's not a good reputation out there in the community in Norwalk when I'm saying, oh no, we're gonna have this meeting, you're gonna know what's going on, you're gonna know that a lot of people are gonna start looking for one bedrooms, a lot of seniors, and he literally laughed. He's like, they've been saying that for 2 years, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
So what are we supposed, should we still be a realtor in the community?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said Yolanda's name, so Yolanda's been saying that for 2 years. That's not gonna happen. So that doesn't give me faith that when my mom starts to apply for apartments, that she's gonna be acknowledged or have some empathy shown towards her to get an apartment, and this is her first time looking in 27 years.
So far, we found apartments, and fairly quickly, for 47 families. 47
For where?
families. Almost all of them have been in Norwalk. Some have found apartments out of town. I think we have one in Bridgeport, maybe 2 in Stamford, and 1 in Darien, because they chose those. Every other family that we relocated was in Norwalk, and we found them apartments in a matter of weeks.
It's been a year and a half, and I pay market rent, so, I mean.
So we had a
year and a
comment.
half.
We have a comment from Mr. Flynn, and then Mr. Burgess, and then Councilman Sims.
Yeah, I'm hearing everyone's concerns, and I'm really, I don't think they're my concerns, I don't live there, but, and I hear how it all comes down to customer service, and, you know, your needs are probably great, I understand that, I'm totally empathetic. But what I see as a problem is, you know, you read the HUD documents, there's no question who goes next. It's according to the need. It's not a lottery. And who's ever changing what the HUD says, hold on, is supposed to be relaying all this information to the HUD on a continuous basis. So here we go, we have a disconnect, right? Okay? There's a lot of things wrong, okay? What I'm gonna talk about, you know, you may not want to hear, but let me finish. And, you know, I'm concerned, 100 days gas leak. The sign's there, it's upside down, and there's only one. I took a picture of it today. I put it on the website. There's only one sign.
Mr. Flynn, what are you talking about in gas leak? I've been hearing for a
I
few
met
months
with the
now
gas
about a gas
company.
leak.
It was
Let
called.
me finish.
Let me finish.
Let me answer that and you can ignore it. There was a report of a smell of gas. The fire department came out.
I
right?
spoke to them.
The gas company came out. They used their tools to ascertain whether or not there was a gas leak. They did not register a gas leak, and we've never heard of it since.
It's under the sidewalk. It's been there for 9 months.
Okay, but nobody else but you
They
knows
can't
about it.
take,
No.
now, hold on, this is what I learned, okay? Let me talk about what I know. I don't know what Ernie knows, because I trust Ernie by all means. He's the only guy in the whole city that cares about anybody in Washington Village. I know this, because I've met him, I trust him myself. I don't question what he says, what he comes out, what comes out his mouth, okay, in my opinion, is gold, okay?
Mr. Flynn?
Go ahead,
Mr. Flynn,
Flynn.
you can't pay. Mr. Flynn?
Because Travis definitely cares.
So wait a minute.
Right.
So we don't want to
Okay,
get into
Travis,
that.
I haven't seen him in action, that's all. That's all I know is what I know.
Listen,
Excuse me.
you need to stop this, Mr. Flynn. We need to stick to
Let me get
the
onto
issues
onto
with the
yes.
residents
I am
very
sorry.
quickly.
Let me speak.
So
I want to address.
Let me finish
I
up
want to
quick.
address that
I'll have to speak
on
quickly
the
though.
gas leak. So,
I mean, here I go.
because, hold on for a minute. I'll give it
Okay.
back to you.
Okay.
Just hold on for a second.
Going in the wrong direction.
There was a gas leak out there. I have the pictures in my phone and I'll send them to you. There was a gas leak out in Washington Village, but it wasn't on the Washington Village property. It was in the middle of the road where they were digging around there, and I'll show it to you. It's a manhole cover that they had, and they had it propped up, and the gas and the fire department saw it. Eversource saw it.
Did they see a gas leak though, or did they just see the manhole?
They
Because they
they
were
stuck
reporting
the probe down in there, and that's where the gas was coming from. There's a gas leak coming from the middle of the road. Eversource came, we were there on a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I was there. And I was there with Eversource, I was there with Trinity, I was there with the Health Department of Norwalk, and I was there with the, what is it, I said Trinity. Right, gentleman came from Trinity, from New Haven, down here. There was a manhole cover, I'm gonna send you the picture, in the middle of the road where they had taken some sticks and stuck it under so the cat could stay upward. And the gas was leaking from there because I took, and they had a gas meter on the side of the building, I think it's building 1 or 2, wrapped with fiberglass, taped.
I have a picture of it.
You have a picture there?
Yes.
It was, they had it wrapped. And they wrapped it because to stop the gas from leaking and you can't smell it. And it's there right now, wrapped.
That's true.
Look,
So
all I
I'm
can tell
not
you-
here to argue with you.
No, Mr. Dumas, I trust you, I really do. So,
Well-
all I can tell you is that when we contacted Eversource, they said they never found a meter reading, and the fire department told us the same thing.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that Eversource didn't, and I'm not saying it wasn't a problem, but I'm just telling you that's the information. we
Okay,
received.
I'm just saying that because Eversource was called, the health department was
Right here.
called, they had, there it is right there. And all of that was called, and we had quite a few people out there on that
Right
Saturday
here.
morning. We started at 8 o'clock in the morning. The fire department came to that building at 8:15 in the morning. They stayed with us until 2 o'clock that afternoon.
Yeah, you like doing it.
So you're saying there's a gas leak for 2 more days?
There was a gas leak.
They called Eversource.
9 months.
Eversource couldn't send anybody out on the weekend.
What?
And they send them out on Monday. That's exactly.
That's not true.
I'm telling you.
Works for Eversource. And if it's
Listen,
the gas
excuse me,
that's not
excuse me. I'm standing right there. Never mind, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead because your husband works for Eversource, he knows.
He does
So,
He
go
works
ahead.
with gas.
I'm not saying no more.
There's issues.
I'm not saying anymore.
Mr. Dumas, can I suggest
Yes.
that we
Yes,
table this
Yes.
conversation
Yes.
and move back on track
Right,
to
go ahead.
our residents, please?
Okay.
I think Mr. Flynn,
I have many
you
issues.
have a minute, and then we need
I
to
have
move
a lot
on.
of issues.
But we need to have the residents speak, and so we need
Okay.
to, if you're talking about something relative to this,
Yes.
I think we need to talk about
Absolutely.
that, and not the gas and that issue.
Absolutely.
And
There's
then
rats in the
All
walls.
right.
We need to hear.
I know this because I moved 2 ladies out And let me tell you, there's 9 pictures of rats on this phone.
Yeah, rat,
Okay.
especially rat. Watch
Here we
the
go.
video.
I got another guy with 20 rats on his
Yeah,
phone.
not rat.
Now, hold on, I can't be quick, because there's so many issues. Yeah, they're on my phone, okay? It's the building with the rat in front of it. It's very clear. If you look at my phone, I have lots of pictures. There are pictures of, now supposedly, a guy came and sprayed those rats in the wall while the people were there. Did anyone have a person come knock on the door and say, I need to spray for rats? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 people told me that. There is no rat poison you can spray in a wall while a person's living in an apartment. It's not made. First of all, the lady I spoke to said she asked for a material data safety sheet. Why? Because she called me. She said, Johnny, what's up? I go, get his name, get his number, get his business card, get the material data safety sheet.
John, let's hold off a minute. Let's get back on track.
This is huge.
Yeah,
Because
let's get back on track.
It's illegal. Okay, so the fact is, let's go to the next issue.
The next issue was a demolition that we were talking about.
I know, but what you need to know is that the continuous contamination that you guys have been living in is such a monstrous thing that it puts your, they're not petty issues at this moment, obviously, they're family living issues where people, but let me tell you, long-term exposure to these projects, the Ryan Park thing, tested at 640 PCBs, okay, fine. I have a map here of where the actual contamination was. It will blow your mind.
Okay, John.
It's around the perimeter.
Let's leave that.
I know, but it's
Let's
huge.
get back to the other part of this year, okay?
This is the most important part.
Let's get back to it, John,
Okay.
all right? We'll talk about it,
Okay, fine.
all right?
The flooding is the most important part. Because it led to mold. I have pictures of mold in apartments. Okay, I'm just saying. You're sitting there for 100 days.
John,
They're trying to move out of these places.
Okay, you don't know what you were exposed to, and I do. And if you don't want to
You don't know what
know,
I was exposed to, because I don't live there. But what I'm
Okay.
saying to you is that's not part of
All
what
right.
the meeting is for tonight.
excuse me,
Okay.
excuse me. John, we're not going there.
we're not going there.
No, we're not going there. And anybody else has a question, go ahead with your question.
Because you're liable.
Diane had a question here.
All right,
You need to hear what I have to say. It's much more important than what they're telling you, how great it was. It's
John,
going faster than I thought.
Please.
Please.
all right. Several people have spoken to me. For those of you that don't know, I'm an environmental consultant. I just wanted to make sure that as the demolition begins, well, 2 things. Number 1, if there's currently mold, and there probably is because many of the basements were flooded, just the nature of the location, I believe it would behoove the housing authority to consider getting funds to move those affected people into a hotel until such time, or some other, quickly, because mold, if it's black mold. So we have to first clarify what kind of mold is in these properties. The health department is there to help you understand that so you can prioritize quickly. Number 2, I don't know about whether the lead paint had all been taken out or covered or coated. Any kind of abrasion, because there was so much flooding under Sandy, could cause more problems with lead paint. The last thing is the demolition process. What I found in Norwalk is at times there is no one that is keeping track of people properly wetting down the dust and not properly positioning the dust monitors, the air quality monitors. I would help offer, but I want to make sure that the housing authority and the city of Norwalk protects all of the neighborhood during demolition. But first, I think there are serious issues with mold, and I think that those need to be clarified, and those 23 last people still in those units, if there is mold and other issues, they need to be moved out, and I know there must be emergency funds to put them in a hotel.
So let me address several issues here. One is, I just want to be clear that obviously the health department and DEEP are involved in the project, and whatever they tell us to do, we do. There's no question about that. So if the health department says you need to do X, Y, and Z before you do the demolition, we will do X, Y, and Z before the demolition. As far as moving families into hotels, at this point, anyone can have a voucher, right? So my hope is that as many families as possible can take advantage of the voucher and move out and move into the private sector. I don't know of a particular sort of emergency fund to put people in hotels. It's not something we had predicted as part of the process. What we want to do is spend all of our relocation money on relocating the families into a more permanent solution, rather than telling them to just, up and leave into a hotel and then move into a secondary housing and then move back. So my goal would be for as many families absolutely as possible to move out. I understand there are lots of complications. We've been hearing about them tonight, but that would really be my goal. I don't think it's fair to the tenants to make them move multiple times if
there's an imminent health hazard. That's all I'm saying.
If the health department tells us of an imminent health hazard,
We'll clarify.
we will absolutely do what we need to do.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, a little quick follow-up on what Adam says. In House board meeting, okay, was one of the issues that we brought in to ensure that if there's any contaminated soil, to make sure it will be taken care of in the construction. But I understand that the company Trinity have hired maybe 1 or 2 companies to make sure that they do absolutely what it's supposed to be in the environment. Okay, so yes, that would
We have a very qualified team of environmental engineers and environmental scientists, and they will all be monitored, not only monitored by the EPA and the DEP, but we're being funded by the DEP, so you can be very assured that they're going to see that everything is taken care of in a very thorough fashion, and put a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money into making sure that we know exactly what the conditions are and know exactly what the best and safest way to do it.
So we had Bobby, Mr. Burgess, who had a question, and I think we're going to Travis Sims, and then we can come back. Okay.
Okay. I would like to make a recommendation. There were a lot of questions asked tonight. I move that the housing authority assign a person to meet with each individual here tonight that have a complaint. So when we get back to the next meeting, we will be talking about the same thing. So once you get that complaint, you can tell us each individual complaint. So the next time we meet, Mr. Ernie will be calling a meeting. We will know exactly what the grant was and what the remedy and how we can move forward. I think that's the way to get to the bottom of the meeting tonight, because we don't have to answer tonight. I think we have the ability to meet individually and find out and then get back to it.
So the housing authority tenants who are in the room.
Yeah, right.
So if you're a housing authority tenant in the room, did all the housing authority tenants sign in?
Yes.
Did you sign in?
Did you guys sign in?
Yeah.
We want to know if you signed in.
So
Did you sign in? Yes.
we know, if your name is on the list, we'll know if you're housing authority or not. Tom knows, pretty much everyone in the room who's in Washington Village. And we will follow up with everybody here to make sure that something that they've been concerned about is being addressed. Whatever they're concerned about is being addressed.
So can we add that I'm sure there are other people that are not here that probably have the same concerns?
And
So
Darlene,
how do
to
we
make
deal
sure
with
that we do a follow-up, sorry folks, just to make sure you understand this, to make sure to the follow-up of Mr. Burgess' suggestion is that also the staff is that for those that speak Spanish, Creole, that will be provided translated so they can understand perfectly what's going on, okay?
There's someone here today to speak to the Spanish. There was someone here to speak Creole, right here.
Let's make it individually so they can be taken care of properly
Yes.
and make sure that they have enough time so they can, the whole process be explained in the right way.
Can I ask how many people, residents, would that be that are still here? What is that number? 30, not in the room, but actually still.
So other than the ones that are moving out this week, there's another 27 families.
So is there
out of the
27
130.
families still remaining that need that? So Travis had a question, and then we'll move back here and have a.
any residents who want to make sure that they want to have trouble, you can have my card.
You asked for the 27 families? I guess, I don't know, there's, you said there are 27 people.
There's 37 families that are moving out
37.
right now.
37, you said
No,
27?
when those 37 move out, there's 27.
27 people left.
We have 37 that have their place and are in the process of moving. Additional 27 that have not been found houses
That
yet.
are still.
Many of you are in the room.
Okay. So Travis had a comment.
Councilman Sims.
They told you that.
So I've been hearing a lot, and I probably missed a lot on my way here. But having said that, I've spoken to a lot of the residents in Washington Village, from the initial stage up until now. And I'd like to really know who's actually leaving it up to the residents or finding the residents places to move to. Are you leaving it up to the residents to find their own
Absolutely not.
place to move to, or
We have a team that is available to every resident to assist them with determining which direction they want to go with as far as relocation and finding that location for them. We have 2 full-time relocation specialists, we have 4 full-time case managers, and we have outside real estate agents, and we've been doing outreach to landlords, working with landlords directly. So we've got a good complement, and assistance is available to everyone.
If you look around the room, you can see the offices. These are the people. They're all in this building, in this office, and it is strictly for Washington Village.
Okay, so
Okay.
why,
Go ahead.
why they can't keep us update what they're doing? I mean, we got to call them. I don't know what they're doing.
They're prioritizing the families first, that are going to be moving right away, then the families that are in the demolition zone, then the families right next to it. So I think what's happening is some folks, because there's 136 families that are trying to move out all at once, some folks are feeling neglected. And I think that's unfortunate, but it's because they probably haven't gotten to you yet. But everyone's going to get that individualized.
Well, one side is almost empty.
Yes,
It's
that's
empty.
right. That's right.
So on my side, it's almost empty, halfway empty. So,
And Building 11 almost empty.
so how much more?
It is all empty in Building 11.
Huh?
In Building 11 is only one apartment full with people living there.
Where?
Building 11.
Building 11 almost empty, it's about empty, because one moving out now, one moving out. She be moving Saturday, one already gone.
Right. Again, of the 136 families
What?
that were there when we started moving people out, right? Other than the ones that are moving out this week, there's only 27 families left. So they will be getting more and more attention from the case managers and the relocation specialists.
So what about we moving out? So when I'm hearing that if we don't use your moving company, we can't get no boxes.
Yeah, you shouldn't be paying for boxes, we'll cover those.
No, if you choose, let me explain that. If you have a choice that you can either have us cover all of your moving costs, including your boxes, or you can choose an option for a self-move. And if you choose a self-move, we give you a check for a certain amount of money depending upon the size of your apartment. And if you choose to self-move, then you self-move. You do all that yourself. If you want us to move you, then we will give you the boxes, we will help you pack them, we'll put them on the truck, and we'll
It's not like we
move
moving out on our own.
Yeah.
You be getting put out. So why we got to buy boxes or why we got to?
We are giving you money to buy your own boxes. If you choose that, if you choose to move yourself, we will give you money to buy your boxes.
What difference does it make?
We keep it out of there.
We have to go. So why we got to buy our own boxes?
That's why they give you a choice, man. Either choose.
Choice?
Your choice,
Okay, give me a choice to stay right there until I get ready. That's the choice. That's the choice. Okay, that's the choice.
So what time is it? We need a time check. 7:30, Mr. Dumas. Mr. Dumas, it's 7:30, and there's still a lot of hands up, and we need to make sure that we've got clarity, and then you're able to plan another meeting. So I know Ms. Marion had something to say. So Travis has to finish, Miss Mary has something to say, and we've got some folks back here.
And Reverend Newell.
And Reverend Newell as well. And so we need to just listen.
What I've been hearing also with a lot of the vouchers that's been given out to a lot of the tenants that's of St. Washington Village. I don't like what I'm hearing about, you know, folks are giving these vouchers, but you're telling them to okay, you can use the voucher, but take the voucher, you can move to Bridgeport, you can move South Carolina, you can move anywhere you want. We just want you to leave. That's kind of the tone that I'm getting from this. And for me, I don't like the way those vouchers are being scrutinized and being used, or telling the folks of Washington Village, all right, you take your voucher and you can move anywhere you want.
Right.
I don't like that, because I think that's what makes Norwalk. Let me finish, Tom. I don't like the way Norwalk is being formed. Okay, it seems like this is a diverse city for a reason, right? And the way that we're going, we're forcing these people out, and we're telling them take your voucher and you just move anywhere you want. Okay, maybe not in those terms, right? But that's what the folks are feeling. That's what they're feeling. Okay, so for me, I would like for you to be promoting and helping the folks stay in their community that they know and that they love and that they live in. Not forcing them to move out to other communities just because you're dangling the voucher in front of them. So that was my last piece of that. I just want to make sure that those vouchers are being used for the right purpose and the intended purposes, and making sure that people stay here in Norwalk.
Councilman Sims, first of all, everyone has a right to return, right? So if they take a voucher, no matter where they go, they can still come back to Washington Village. That's number one. Number two, we're not encouraging people to move out. In fact, of the 47, I think that have taken vouchers so far, only like 4 have, entirely on their own, chosen that they wanted to move out. And I gotta be honest, Councilman, I don't feel comfortable telling somebody they have to live in Norwalk and they don't have a choice. I think that these are people who are adults and can make decisions for themselves. And I would prefer them to live in Norwalk. I agree with you. I think we want to keep Norwalk diverse. I completely agree with you. But I don't feel comfortable going that extra step and telling someone they've got no choice. They can only live in Norwalk. I just don't think that's fair. And I also don't think that that's necessarily.
Well, I'm not saying that you're promoting it. I mean that you're telling people to live out boundaries. What I'm saying is that there seems to be a very candid proposition here, where you're just going to the residents saying, hey, take this voucher and you can go anywhere you want. And to me, it's a very sentiment to it. I think that we should make sure that those people stay here in Norwalk.
There's a very, very important distinction that needs to be made here. Generally, when you get a voucher, you are required to use that in town. These are unique vouchers. They're tenant protection vouchers, and they provide mobility because they're for relocation. And they're specifically special vouchers that give people a mobility that's not provided. So most people think that they have to be in Norwalk. So we've made a concerted effort to make people aware that these are special vouchers. If you want to live in Norwalk, fantastic. But if you'd like to move to Florida, if you'd like to move to Puerto Rico, if you'd like to move to Stratford to be closer to your family, you can take these vouchers right from day one, and you can go anywhere you want, and we will assist you going anywhere you want. We have not encouraged people to leave town. We've just been emphatic to make sure that they understand that they have that flexibility.
I get that, but what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing are two different things. I'm seeing a lot of folks leaving Norwalk, and that's not what we're promoting here. Okay, these people have been living here for decades, and I think those people should stay here. They should stay here. They have a lot of roots, a lot of history here. I don't think that we should be using federal funds to force people out, and then on top of that, having them move into other communities.
So I don't think anybody else.
Okay.
So we had Miss Mary, you had a question?
Now me, I thought being that I was, how do you say, I had requested maybe I could get a 2-bedroom and I just paid the difference. What's name said, no, you need one. That machine, I would like to have put it in another room. So I can sleep. You're right, because it hums all night. And then also, you keep on saying we got 136 units. Half of the people had moved out on 200, 400, 500. 700, 806. Half the buildings were empty already. So there's not 136 down there no more. It's just a few left over on the
That's right.
outside.
No, that's right.
So we still, when they did the lottery, how did you need to be there to see how the lottery was done. That's what upset us.
I was
to
there.
see how the lottery was done.
When the lottery was, so first, let me go back to your first question, which I'm now forgetting. Your first question was, was the extra bedroom. So, if it's related to a disability, you can make a reasonable accommodation request of the Norwalk Housing Authority. All you need to do is get a medical professional to write a letter that says it's medically necessary for me to get blank, and then we will be likely obligated to give you whatever that blank is. So if a medical professional says you need a second bedroom, you'll probably get a medical.
Two people that gave you medical letters, they didn't honor them anyway. Am I right?
That's right.
This is one
Wait,
gave the new was it Trinity letters, and they didn't honor them. They didn't honor those letters.
You have my card. You have my card. Give me a copy of those letters, and I will take care of it. I will take care of it. All right. So anyway, there's a second question though, which was the lottery. 2 years ago, I was not the executive director of the Housing Authority. 2 years ago, I was the fair rent director for the city. And me and Margaret Sue, the fair housing officer for the city, were asked by Housing Authority to attend the lottery because they wanted to make sure it was on the up and up. So back then, I wasn't a part of the Housing Authority. I was an outside advocate. I was there, and it was done legitimately. I saw the way that they had a random number generator they found online. They took an Excel sheet with all the names. They used a random number generator and just copy and pasted it, and that was how it was done. Now, I haven't been there to see every single person get their voucher, but it certainly seemed on the up and up.
Okay, they gave us a list, said original and non-original.
Correct.
Well, how a lot of the non-originals moved in already? Should they have been in that lottery? No. That's how we felt.
For the beginning, it wasn't no lottery. Kansas tell us, the ones who've been here long get your first choice. They say if we don't want to, don't pick, what if we don't want it, it go to the next person.
Right.
But they didn't give us that choice.
They just started picking
It's lottery. Why the lottery?
Candace was there with me when we did the lottery. She was 100% on board. I can't speak for her because she's not listening.
Why should be in the room?
So it sounds like Miss Mary will have to get in touch with you, Adam, to figure all that stuff out. Time is ticking on, and I know, Reverend Yule had a comment, and then we have two back here, and we're gonna wrap it up with these two ladies here if we have enough time.
Okay, mine would be very quick, and I certainly thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak. And I certainly want to speak on behalf of those who have medical disabilities here tonight. And I feel that if you're going to make some part of the first selection to be in the round that go in on the first completed wing, it should have been some of those who had medical conditions. And to me, I seem to see too many of them sitting here tonight and not here that does have some medical issues going on in their life that should have been in that first wing, to not have to go through a second moving process. That's just unfair to the system. And I understand the lotto system and how that works, but there have to always be some exception. And I think you still need to look at that now and not allow them to move now and then have to move again. That's just unheard of in terms of the medical condition that they are going through and suffering with. And I pray that you consider that and make some adjustment to that.
All right, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Diane, CC,
I have a suggestion and then also a question for you. So, Mr. Bobisky, I would say, one, I've heard a couple of times where you're inviting people who have these specific issues to contact you, or Tom, I understand that. But I want to just agree with Mr. Burgess. I think a better approach at this point, if there's only 27 families left, is that you do the outreach once this major move is done. And you have the people who are in a case management role reach out to all 27 people with the question of, do you still require assistance? What are the issues you're having? Do you have any concerns? And so the onus isn't on them to get in touch with you guys. And then if it's something that does require a doctor or anything else, then perhaps case management can assist them with that. So I would suggest that. There's only 27, so hopefully that would do that. Okay. My question is, How many units of the new development have been built and have a CO where, that are available for someone to move into?
80.
Okay, there are 80, and how many of them are occupied now?
Probably 40 to 50.
Okay, and the ones that aren't occupied, those are market rate or?
They're most likely mostly market rate or people who just haven't actually, they've just got a lease, they haven't moved in.
Okay, because a suggestion that I think might work, and it may not be fair given the lottery system, is that given the potential health issues and environmental issues there, and the fact that people would be moving twice anyway, can there be an arrangement with Trinity where the remaining families who intend to come back anyway just simply move in right now? And if it's a matter of the finances of the market rate, then perhaps there could be an adjustment through the relocation funding and other funding sources that you have that would meet the gap between what their Section 8, what and I realize what I'm saying, again, may be unfair given the original method that you had for the lottery. But the circumstances have changed, and you have people now are going to be amidst the demolition that's going to create more health issues. And you also have an environment where time is of the essence in terms of continuing the project to move them out. I think it's at least worthy of having the discussion on the table with the Housing Authority and with Trinity. And then perhaps the onus is on Trinity to come back and say no, and if they say that, I certainly would hope you ask why. Because it seems like an easy accommodation to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mosby, very quickly.
Yeah, I would want to follow up on this and say this, and I want to thank you, Joe, for having this meeting tonight. You know, me and you been here a long time. What I want to say to you all tonight, and I'm going to make some sense. What you should do is never let this happen again. This thing shouldn't have happened in the first place. Y'all playing games. This shouldn't have happened in the first place. Now, once when you start on this ship, it's going to take 2 years. That means them people gone. They'll be all of them be dead and gone. This is a game being played. That's why you don't want us on the boats. If I would be dead, wouldn't happen. I say, no, let's get it for them people put over there. This is what got to happen. Don't let this happen again. And Travis is absolutely right. You're running all these people dying and running them out of town. And you know it's the truth. And let's stop playing games and try to stand up and do what you were supposed to be doing, gentlemen. And don't try to look at me that I'm a troublemaker. I'm giving you the truth.
All right.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. So, right here. And then
You said a medical letter. She brought here a medical letter. And they were supposed to move her fast. And Yolanda put her letter at the end of the stash that he had at her desk.
We'll look at that.
Okay, why you said that you put it in the Yolanda saw the paper? And they gave her that paper to her in Chestnut Street.
That's right.
And she said that Maria told to Zoraida to bring that paper to the doctor. And the psychologist filled the paper. And when Maria saw that paper, she said, oh, you gotta take it to the housing.
Okay.
And housing said, oh, you gotta take it to them.
Yes, we will look at
It would be greatly concerning to me and it would be illegal for us to be ignoring reasonable accommodation requests. So we will be definitely looking into that issue and making sure that the HAU staff, which is trained, is not ignoring medical needs.
So let's quickly wrap this up. I want to say two things. Thank you, Ernie, for putting this together. I've learned a lot tonight. And I just want Adam, since this is the last question or statement, to summarize the meeting.
Okay. So before we do that, Ms. Jasmine had something to say. Yeah, you were, but then she turned around.
Could you clarify about the Section 8 and security deposit and what is on the tenant and what's on you guys? Because we have a lot of questions about that.
If you get a tenant protection voucher, we will give you your security deposit.
First, last, and security, because it's 3 months.
No, we'll give you your security deposit, but Section 8 is going to pay the balance of your rent, just like you do in public housing. Right. But just the security deposit.
One or 2 months security, 1 or 2 months security, whichever is required.
Okay, but most of them are 3 months.
If they say first, last, and security, tell them you can pay 2 months of security, right? For the security in the last, right? You can pay 2 months because we can cover 2 months of security deposit. But the first month's rent
Is the first
is
month's
the
rent.
first month's rent. It's not a third month of security, right?
It's against the law to charge more than 2
So
months
it's 2 months security and 1 month's rent?
Yes.
Yes, and if you are 62 years of age or older, which I'm not gonna ask anybody their age, if you're 62 years of age or older, it's illegal in Connecticut to demand more than 1 month's security deposit from you.
But I went to see one on an apartment and they asked for 2 months of security and plus a month's of rent.
That's
They
no-
asked for 2 months.
I just said it.
And a month's of
I'm not
rent.
saying other people are following the law, I'm just telling you what the law is. But we can give you 2 months security
Yeah,
deposit. We can give you 2 months security deposit to anyone moving out.
All right, I
First
just
month's
have,
rent is your
go ahead.
first month's rent, it's not security.
Before Adam summarized the meeting, I personally want to say thank you, Ms. Dumas, Reverend, and everybody else here. We are very serious in listening to your comments. We are very extremely committed to make sure that your concern is going to be taken care of. And if they're not, you know what the office is. We appreciate it to listening from you, from every one of you, okay? We thank you. The board and the staff, we appreciate it. Believe me, as I said it before, it was promised that 136 people from Washington Village were told they were going to be moving back, and that is a promise. I still say that, okay? So,
Okay, I just, right now, first of all, I want to thank Councilman Sims for showing up and ex-Councilman David Watts for being here tonight. But I do have a question that we didn't really finish, and I would like to do that, and that's the phase 3 demolition schedule and project completion date. And the other one was the actual number of Washington Village residents who will end up in a new apartment.
The schedule for the closing on the second phase of the financing is going to be September, early October. We will be setting the staging up, which is the fencing and containment, getting the final permits, setting up the safety zones around the site in like October, probably into November. The actual beginnings of the major demolition will be, late fall, early winter. And you asked how many residents.
Can I ask a question though? So does that mean that there will be residents still
Still
living
there.
among?
It is possible that there will still be residents living not in the demolition site and not even next to the demolition site, but the furthest removed building, yes. It is possible there'll still be residents living there.
And so
keep
that
in
kind of
mind.
goes back to the concern that John and Diane raised about being concerned about the conditions in the environment. And so that, so I think that's just something, right? That I think we gotta follow up on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, that's it, right?
No, and then the number of people I think
Phase
that.
3 you said, we were just talking about phase 2, you want to hear about phase 3 as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure I understood the question. How many residents, what residents where?
Actual number of Washington Village residents will end up in new apartments.
The answer is
Any new Soundview apartment village, as many as would like to and are in good standing and income eligible.
Can I ask a question? What does that mean? And so how many vouchers have you given out for people that moved out of state? Like, so,
None.
none. So everybody's in state.
Everyone's in Norwalk except for like 4 families.
Let me ask a question to that, though.
And anyone who moved out on a voucher has a right to return to phase 2 or phase 3. So you can move out on a voucher and you still have a right to move into Washingtonville.
But they all move, are state local.
All
People with the vouchers move state
Everyone's in
local.
Fairfield County.
Let me ask a quick question on that with good standing. Do you already have a number count who's not in good standing right now?
At this point, no. No one is not.
No one
Everyone
of
is
the
in
136 family, no one in that
There's
number
more than
is not in
136.
good. Okay,
Because there's someone who moved out earlier.
right, so none of those numbers, there's none that was
Right,
not
we
in
had
good
some
standing.
that had some issues that had all been worked out.
Okay.
And so how will they know that they can come back? And
Because
so,
we're obligated to contact them and we'll keep in touch with them, and they will, once these apartments are scheduled to become available, we will be reaching out to them first and giving them the first right to return.
And so, so when did the first people move? How long ago was
The
that?
first move was in July of 2017.
And so do we expect that people have moved and set up homes, their lives, and then they're gonna move back?
And they go back.
Most of the people who moved early because they did not want to move into Soundview. That sounds.
So that's the expectation, that they really moved,
Yeah.
and so not all want
But they still have a right to return.
They still have a right, but we ask people,
first choice.
we ask
You
people,
know, a lot of
do you
people-
want to move, do you want to move in the new building, or do you want to move off-site? And they said, we want to move outside, off-site.
And so you can probably guesstimate maybe 10% will come back, maybe.
I'm hoping that they will all come back. I think a lot more will come back than is typical.
And then for the units that are still available, how do you then fill them? So, Adam, so you have 136 units and say 100 will come back.
Okay.
So what do you do with the
If
remaining?
the public housing units will come off of our public housing list. Same prioritization as any other federal public housing. We choose them and then we send them, and Trinity manages it. So they come off the exact same list, which is 5-bedroom, and as you know, some lists are closed. Actually, I think two and 3 bedrooms are open, senior is open, but, you know, come off the same list that we've had forever for everybody else.
Perfect.
That's for, let me clarify that. That is for 115 units. Doing my math right. That's for 115 units. There are 21 units that are now project-based vouchers. Those originally are going to come off of, Washington Village residents. But once a Washington Village resident, former resident, has lived in those units in phase 2, once they leave, the new tenant, which could be a lifetime, once they leave, the new tenant that comes in off those 21 units will be off of our Section 8 list. Same Section 8 list as everyone else. But I want to clarify, there are those 21 units that are special.
So it's 136 plus 21?
No, it's 136 including the 21.
So I think, Mr. Dumas, you're gonna wrap this up?
Yes.
And I think the follow-up,
Yes. I would just like to.
who was gonna wrap it up? Adam?
You're waiting for him to
Whatever
recap.
you guys want to wrap up, we'll wrap up.
The recap, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're gonna recap?
Yes, I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and I hope that you have some clarity, and I do hope and pray that the Housing Authority would give more information a little sooner to the residents, that they will know in advance without scrambling, trying to find answers to their problem. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So the follow-up has to be the meeting, right? So are we saying in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks?
I'd say about 2 weeks or so.
2?
No, 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3?
Yeah.
Does everybody agree with 3? Does that work for you?
What's the date?
It's the 13th.
Well, I mean, I think, in fairness, I think we only got, what, 27, 30 some families we're dealing with? We ought to be able to do a recap of those in 2 weeks, can't we? I mean, I think with the staff you have, I'm not trying to be unreasonable.
We have a good week of moving out this huge group of people that are being stuck. We need to help them. So I think 3 weeks is a better idea.
Okay, 3 weeks. So around the 4th of October?
Okay.
Around that time? Adam, does that work?
Mr. Dumas tells me to be somewhere, I'll be there.
Thank you, sir.
Around what day?
4th of October.
All right.
The first of October.
We'll
right.
send out the.
Sound good.
I know.
Do you want me to do something? Okay, so I want to, if I can just get people's attention for one more minute. I know people want to leave, but Commissioner Penn Williams asked if I would make some final comments, and so I would like to do that. First of all, as many other people have said, I want to thank Mr. Dumas for arranging for this meeting. It is very helpful for us to have someone who's so connected to the community to help arrange something like this. I want to thank Councilman Sims for attending. former Councilman Watts, good to see you again. Also for attending this evening. Most importantly, I want to thank the Washington Village residents. I think that as a new executive director, making sure I'm hearing things straight from the people who are concerned is important. It's a stressful issue. Moving from someplace, whether you are a senior, whether you're disabled, or whether you are not, is a very stressful period of time. I want you to know that our staff understands that. And I want you to know that if our staff is falling short of your expectations, that you let us know, because many of the concerns that were raised this evening, I have not heard. And that also concerns me that I'm not getting information from the tenants. I would not be able to do that without folks like Mr. Dumas arranging for a meeting like this, or as Mr. Burgess did with the Democratic Town Committee earlier a few weeks ago. So I just greatly appreciate the community leaders in the room for arranging for this. If I want to leave you with anything, I don't want to regurgitate what we've done for the last few hours, but if I want to leave you with anything, it's that we know this is a stressful situation. If you tell us your concerns, we will address them. I'm committed to coming back in 3 weeks. And what I'm really hoping happens is very few of you show up because you're all taken care of and you feel like you know what's going on and you feel more comfortable. That would be a wonderful thing. I'm not sure it's going to happen. But I really hope that happens, and our staff will work to make sure that happens. And Tom in particular is going to be looking very closely at these issues, including reasonable accommodation requests under the Fair Housing Act or the Americans with Disabilities Act, making sure that disability claims are processed and that people are responded to in a timely manner, and that unless we have a really good reason, we're not granting those requests. And make sure that people feel as though they're not being left behind when they need information about where they can rent, that our relocation experts and that our case managers are addressing your concerns, because in 3 weeks' time, everyone should be reached out to at that point and being taken given much more attention. I understand there are environmental concerns with the project. There should be environmental concerns with the project. We all know, it's no big secret, that Washington Village has been flooded on countless occasions, and yes, we would all be shocked if there was not mold there. We know that. So we want to address those concerns, and we will not do anything that the health department, DEEP, or the EPA says we shouldn't do. And if they tell us to take extra precautions, we will take those extra precautions. We are 100% committed to following all of those regulations, as we have to anyways, but especially with a building like Washington Village, where we know there's been problems. We know there's been problems with the soil in Ryan Park. There's been contaminants there. We've addressed those as we've been told to address those, but if there's continuing concerns, we will continue to address them, and I take that stuff very seriously. You've now met me, you've seen a face with the name. You know Tom, he's here, he's available, he's right down the street from y'all, and I really want to make sure that people feel as though they can reach out to us. I have been slightly slower than I would like at responding to some of the tenant concerns that I've heard, but I respond to every single phone call eventually as best I can. So if you feel like you're not hearing from me, complain to Brenda, complain to Caesar. They got the power to fire me, right? So I'll feel free to tell them if I'm falling short of your expectations. I never have a problem with that. And talk to community activists like Mr. Burgess, Mr. Dumas, Mr. Mosby, Councilman Sims, anybody you want to reach out to. They all also know how to reach me. They all have my cell phone. And I will make sure I'm available to all those folks. So thank you for your time, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.